Hi, this is Gary D. Tonnencourt from morethanasnapshot.com. Today I thought I'd try a little bit different setup with our weekly image critiques. It's good to see you all back here, and I know I said I probably wouldn't do a session this week because we only had a few images, but I wanted to try this new setup, so let's see how it goes. Here we have some great images to look at. We're looking first at some colorful turkeys. I've never seen anything like this before, but I think it's really cool and interesting that they did this to these turkeys. And it looks like you did a good job of photographing them and capturing those interesting moments. Now, there are some technical problems. As you can see here on the white part of the bird, or the lighter part of the bird, the sun is overexposing this area just a little bit, and you can see here there's a green peak. We might be able to bring that in a little with the highlight tool. Oh yeah, that's handling that pretty well. And this bird really seems to be the main focal point of the image, and it's okay to have, it's great to have the surrounding colors. I think the only other distracting thing is it seems to be a person here in the background, but it's not too bad. We just see a little bit of the plaid shirt. I do like to see the colorful feathers back here. I understand that in this kind of event it's really difficult to find a spot where you get a clean background, so I think you did a pretty good job. And other than that little bit of overexposure, the highlights look good. I don't think cropping it is really going to help it much as far as getting rid of this, unless we went for a real tight crop on the main center of interest turkey here. We could give that a shot just for the heck of it. It would have to be something really tight. We don't want that turkey in there. We might lose a lot of those interesting feathers. And maybe if we kept some of that, we might have to clone in Photoshop. But I think it's fine the way it is. It's just an interesting event, an interesting set of circumstances. You know, and that does simplify the image a little bit, but really it's nice seeing all the rest, so I wouldn't even bother. Here we have some more of the turkeys. Again, very cool looking colors. I didn't know you could do that to a turkey. I wonder how they actually did it. And it's nice to see the kids here feeding them. So I think in this case that kind of is adding to the story. So I'm not really seeing that as a distraction. And the exposure is also looking a bit better on this one. I still might bring in the highlights just a touch to bring it more in line with this line here. I don't know how well you're going to see it. Yeah, we'll see it fine. So yeah, bringing it more in line with that. Okay. Yeah, I think that looks good. Here we have a cool old truck. And so this is a really nice image, a great subject. I think that it's just a little bit unfortunate that there's like a porta-john right behind the truck. I can't really zoom in. Apparently it's already sized to a small size, but that is kind of a distraction. I would work on cloning that out. And the same thing over here. We probably have too much on this side. This bench is not really helping us, and even some of that stuff back here is not really helping this image. But let's just see if we get rid of the bench at least, and we have to have some space there. All right, so if you did that kind of a crop, that takes care of the bench, and then if you did some cloning to get rid of this stuff and some cloning to get rid of those porta-johns in the background, this is really nice. The truck has some great texture. This is the kind of thing where you might want to do sort of an HDR effect, give it that grungy look. Just here in Lightroom, you could increase the clarity, and you can see that it gives the truck that grungy look. And you probably don't want to maybe grunge up the grass and all that other stuff. So here's a good time where you could use the paintbrush tool, and let me make sure it's all reset, and then I'm going to use the clarity in the paintbrush tool, I'll pump up the clarity here, and I'll just paint the truck, because we don't need to grunge up the trees and the grass. And so here I'll paint all that in. I'll go over it a couple times, because sometimes when you use a soft brush, you're not really getting everything until you go over it a couple times. All right, and then we can play with that grunge effect and see just how grungy we want to make it. So again, that's your own artistic choice whether you want to do that or not. I think it kind of looks kind of cool. And I'll put the brush away and we'll see if we can see a before and after. So now grungy truck and regular truck, it's up to you what you like better. It's a good shot either way. All right, and we'll go on to this image. A night shot, and it's the person's self-portrait, so welcome to the class. And I think you were really thinking about this. It was a great idea to try something different, to do this at night. And we see we got the moon here in the background and some other street lights, and I really like how you're half lit and the shadow, and it's mysterious because we don't see your face. But there are some exposure issues that we can deal with. First, see how there's like a lot of empty space here. We could possibly brighten that up. So I'll just try shifting the exposure just a bit. We don't want to do it too much. It'll make it start to look like daytime. So I'll just bring, you can also click right on the histogram, right? If I just want to affect those tones in the picture, I can just click those over. So I dragged mainly these tones and maybe a little of these tones over to the right to make it a little bit brighter. But I don't want to overexpose anything, so I might just come back to the highlights and try to bring those in a little bit. It's a delicate balance of finding the right spot. All right, so the exposure is looking a little bit better. It's not quite so muddy as it was before. And then the white balance might be just a little bit warm, which is, tungsten light bulbs, those street lights are a warm light. So we could use the temperature slider and find a spot where they're not quite so warm. It makes it maybe look a little bit more natural. All right, and let's zoom in and see if we can see the clarity. It seems to be in focus. Although it must have been shot at a fairly high ISO. I see a little bit of noise in here. So we could come down to the noise reduction tools. Oh, that's grain. Sharpening, nope, we don't want that. Lens correction. All right, where's my noise reduction? Split toning. Oh, here it is. So I'll just add a little bit of noise reduction, both a little bit of color and a little bit of luminance. And that's pretty good. Maybe a little bit less warmth again on the white balance. Anyway, here you can see the before and after. We have a little bit lighter image, a little bit less yellow color cast in it. And so I think it's an improvement. Also, I see this sign here is now catching a lot of lights, catching my eye. So I would use some sort of a cloning tool and get rid of that little sign. Oops, did I click on the, oh, I didn't click on the clone tool, sorry. All right. And so that got rid of that little sign. And so good job and welcome to the class. Here's another version of the same image. This one appears, I know you put it in here because you liked the moon is looking better in this image, but the problem with this one is you can see that this one is out of focus. Something went very wrong with the focus. I don't know, maybe it's because you focused on the moon. The moon does look fairly sharp, but you can see the trees are out of focus. You're out of focus. So we're getting some interesting bokeh on these lights back here, but the subject is not in focus. So this one is not as good. What you could do in Photoshop is, if you like that moon better than the other moon, you could, clone this moon onto the other picture. Here we have a shot where the person was practicing with their depth of field. So we do have a nice little squirrel shot here, and he is in nice sharp focus, as is the bird feeder. And the background is nicely blurred out, so there's no distractions. We have a nice clean background. So that was a good job, and I like squirrel shots. I think you did a good job with it. It's maybe a little bit unfortunate that we have to see this wooden railing, but good job on the squirrel itself. And I would probably also get rid of whatever this thing is that's cutting across the frame. So in this image, without reshooting it, we could, do more of an extreme crop, and we might be able to solve a bunch of our problems. I don't know if we can crop it enough to get rid of the wood, probably not. But you could crop it down real tight and then clone out that little piece right there. And, whoops. Something like that. You would have to spend a little more time getting that clone right. But now we have a nice little portrait of that squirrel eating. Here we have a nice shot of a stream, and I like how you have some foreground interest, these plant leaves here and the rocks, leading us to this little stream. And you used a slow shutter speed in a tripod, apparently, because you have that soft silky water effect, and the rest of the image is sharp. So that was good. I might bring up the midtones a bit. And maybe just bring down the greens a little. That's good. The next time you go out and try this shot, you might also try using a circular polarizing filter, and that will help to take off the glare from the water and from the tops of the leaves, and you'll see more into the water, and it'll also help to slow down your shutter speed, so you'll get even more blur on your water. You could also, if you really wanted a real long exposure, you could even add to that a neutral density filter, and that would really darken down the scene and let you go to an even longer exposure. And you can combine both a circular polarizer and a neutral density filter if you wanted to. So I would experiment with some of those things if you happen to have either of those filters. All right, let's see what's next. Here we have a couple of birds, cardinals, I believe, and it's a nice pair. And I think I would just increase the exposure a little bit, and I would probably work on using the brush tool to darken some of these bright spots in the background. And the birds seem to be, well, the front bird seems to be more in focus than the back bird. And I think that if you had used a little bit smaller f-stop, you might have been able to get both birds in focus. I can't tell here what you used for an f-stop, but if you had tried maybe f8, f11, you might have been able to get both birds. This bird is, you can see this bird is the one that's in focus, and then this bird is close, but it's slightly out of focus. But composition-wise, I like the shot. I probably would crop some a little bit off the bottom and a little bit off the top. And Let's see how that looks. Yeah, I like that. I like bringing that in a little. I probably would even get rid of some on the right side. Something like that looks pretty good. And you could even darken the edges with your vignette tool. Just a little bit. And here's the before and after. We brightened it up overall, added a little vignette. So, whoops, I clicked the wrong button. All right, now we're back. So let's see what we have next. Nope, that's the last image. So let me know what you think about these critiques, and make sure you submit some photos for next week, and have some fun shooting some photos. This has been Gary D. Tonicourt from morethanasnapshot.com. And if you'd like to join on my online class, you can just go to morethanasnapshot.com and sign up, and you can have your images critiqued too.
If you like this video, please be sure to hit subscribe down at the bottom so you can see our future videos. Also, you might want to check out the show notes to see my other websites like morethanasnapshot.com, where you can take my online photography class. Also, like us on Facebook so you'll know what's new with morethanasnapshot.com.